I want to make the transition now to Team of Teams. And I understand you have another Exhibit A, right? Great book. And I understand you have a more recent book that called One Mission.
Correct. Yep. So
yeah, okay.
Team of Teams was our first book out, which basically captured what happened in the current battlefield, information age battlefield, how we address that. And then One Mission was a quick follow-up that was essentially a playbook, a series of case studies, how businesses are implementing similar models as to what we experienced in service.
Great. So what I wanted to go from the story about the SEAL teams, right, and these very trusting, small, proud, intense units forged out of this decades-long kind of preparation, knowing what to how to create those. And one of the observations that I took out of Team of Teams was that you go from that when people are really, really super trusting inside, right? But now I've got a special forces guy who's maybe from the Army, and he's got a different, thing. And so to go from this situation where you're very trusting and all for one and one for all within this smaller group, but to be able to, cross those boundaries and create that trust with a larger community. And maybe you could talk about that transition, because I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, it was one of the core problems that we faced, and it wasn't obvious to us out of the gates, which was we had purpose-built, and maybe I'll share a little bit here to try to make it clear to those that are dialed in. The military and the special operations community, we were built like anything else, right? We had this sort of top-down structure because you need to organize yourself. And I don't blame hierarchy and bureaucracy for everything, right? They're really good systems when they're leveraged to do what they're supposed to do, right? Which is stability, scalability, efficiency, et cetera. And inside of that model, we had always, in the special operations community, hyper-focused here on these small team elements. So this is a SEAL platoon, this is an Army specialized unit, et cetera, because we were part of this thing up here was a joint community. So it included all different parts of the military. And there's an interesting history as to why the military and the Pentagon have decided to structure us like that, going back to the early 80s. But this is the model we had walking into the post 9/11 era, which is the first information age battlefield that we really encountered. And so hyper focus here. We need really specialized teams because they're the ones that go out and solve problems. And then honestly, not really a clear understanding of what this did, aside from it's the place that makes decisions and gives us resources and intelligence, essentially. And so with that mindset, we then went on to the battlefield. And what we saw was this. We saw individual problems. And so we said, well, this is exactly what we do. We're going to take individual teams and they'll go fight those individual problems. And you go here, you go here, you go here, et cetera. And what it took us too long to realize was these weren't individual problems. This was a network of problems, right? And it was growing in multiple directions far faster than we could keep up with. And it took us about a year and a half to recognize when this team goes out and interacts here, it's not just impacting this specific problem. Its energy that it's putting into the network is also impacting this problem. It's creating new opportunity to grow the network because of the information campaign that can be leveraged, et cetera. And so when this unit here that interacts would then come back and say to this enterprise level system, hey, I just learned all this new information. It's really relevant and important. By the time that this unit level leadership team here could make sense of it and get it back down to the field where it mattered, it was too late, right? The whole problem will have changed by the time the next team was able to go out there and interact. And so what we had to do was accept the reality that there's strength in this system and there's strength in this network model, right? Which is what we were facing. And what we argue in Team of Teams and One Mission is that we eventually became a combination of the two, right? It sort of looked like this. We never drew it like that at the time, and it's always going to be imperfect, but essentially that's what we became. Let's maintain structure and stability and where we can, because that's really an important aspect of winning in today's environment. And let's also not be afraid to recognize that there's real power in a networked model as well. And so that's what we eventually looked like.